20. 1,720 is a bid.
30.
30. 7 ain't 30. He bids again. 40.
50.
50. He bids again.
50.
Are you up to it? 80. This man means business. 90.
90 here.
1.8. Going.
Hello,
Going.
and welcome
going,
to the First
going,
Brick Property
going.
Podcast, episode 4. My name is KM. I'm the director of First Brick Property Buyers Agency. The purpose of the podcast is to bring a casual style show to discuss all things property, with education being the key. Our episodes will range from discussing a variety of topics to having special guests who can share insights into the property world. Whether you are a beginner or a seasoned property investor, we believe this show will be able to further your knowledge and really remove any barriers to get involved in the exciting and fun world of property. Today, I am joined by my better-looking bearded co-host, Hani Rojdi. How are you, my friend?
That is a great introduction. Thank you very much for that.
Better
I'm very
than the
well.
last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, just a little. You didn't throw me under the bus tonight.
That's all right. Thanks for coming back.
I'm well. How are you?
Not too bad. How's your week? I've had a busy week. How's yours?
Yeah, it's been pretty busy too, but it's close to an end. That's
true.
always good.
Almost Friday.
Yeah.
Thank God. Almost Valentine's Day. That's a special day for you, isn't it?
Yeah. Probably not something that your listeners are interested into.
Move on.
Maybe we can save that for another podcast.
Yeah, that's it. So, what do you? We were having a bit of a discussion earlier this week. What we're going to talk about today. What did we decide we're going to do today?
Yeah, so we're going to talk about why use a buyer's agent and what a buyer's agent actually is.
Yeah, beautiful.
And if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I've always questioned why people would use a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
I've always thought, it's probably something you can do yourself. You've got a budget. You usually know what you want. Why on earth would you go out and pay someone to do something like that for you?
Yeah, sound like every single person that's ever spoken to me ever.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good topic. So I guess today's topic is why use a buyer's agent and what a buyer's agent is.
Yeah. So why don't you start by explaining to me what a buyer's agent actually is and what they do?
Yeah, cool, for sure. So obviously I am a buyer's agent. We have a buyer's agency business here, so I try and not be biased in what I say. But simply put, a buyer's agent or a buyer's advocate is a licensed real estate professional that works only for the buyer and not the seller. So the buyer's agent will act on behalf of the buyer by first understanding their needs. They then, will do a search for properties that match their needs. They usually negotiate on the property and on behalf of the buyer, and they act solely in the best interest of the buyer. So they're quite simply the exact opposite of a real estate agent. A good buyer's agent will also aid in organising building and pest inspections, organise solicitors and conveyancing. If it's an investment property, they usually source the property managers as well for you. So they do everything along the way. And, what we do as well, we make sure we're educating the customer every step of the way. I'll give you a fun fact about buyer's agents. You mentioned, a bit of a skeptic, or why would anyone do it? Sounds pretty unique. And in Australia, it is quite unique. There's not a lot of buyer's agents. It's a pretty new idea. But in the US, 80% of all properties that are purchased are actually purchased through a buyer's agent. So it's almost not normal if you don't use a buyer's agent in the US.
Is that right?
It is 80%. It's a ridiculously high number. Like almost everyone purchases a property using a buyer's agent. I guess America's a little bit ahead in that aspect, that they can see the benefit of using a buyer's agent as opposed to doing it alone.
So you said buyer's agency are relatively new here in Australia. So how does that compare to America? How many buyer's agents, for example, do you think we have here?
So like in Australia, the last time I looked at the stats, there was about 75,000 real estate agents, so selling agents. That's across Australia. And last time I looked at the buyer's agency numbers, it was under 1,000, more close to 700.
Is that all?
So it's very small. That's across all of Australia. So it's a very, very niche industry, I guess, very new, and definitely growing though. So that number has grown rapidly in the last few years.
Okay.
So the number was much smaller and then quickly rose. So I think a lot of people are realizing the benefit in using a buyer's agent. More people are enjoying the buyer's agency work, so they're getting into that kind of field.
Okay, fair enough. So, look, everything you've said so far is all well and good, but I can still buy a property myself. You haven't said anything that I really can't do myself. So why would I use a buyer's agent?
Yeah, for sure. That's a very fair question, and if you don't ask the question, it's, I guess, foolish. Why use a buyer's agent when you can do it yourself? So it's the same thing with selling your house. I mean, no one is saying not to sell your own house. You can use a real estate agent, or you can do it yourself, but no one thinks twice about it. Everyone uses a real estate agent pretty much because they're the industry experts. You know, they're good at negotiating. They do it every day, all day. So very simply put, the same question can be thrown back, but obviously I won't do that. We'll go into a bit detail. So I hear all the time, you know, buying property is easy, or I can do it myself. And there's a few reasons. When you're buying a property on your own, you are competing with a professional seller in the real estate agent, which is a professional negotiator who does it every single day. You're dealing with people who are looking at the market constantly. So it's not a fair fight. Having a buyer's agent levels the playing field. It gives you someone in your corner that also negotiates every day, someone that has all the latest market data, just like the real estate agent, someone that's just simply doing it all the time. So there's a lot of value there, someone with market perspective and expertise guiding you along the way. But there's also, I've compiled a list of, I guess, 8 points on to identify why you would use a buyer's agent, and perhaps if using a buyer's agent is for you.
Okay. Yeah, I think we should definitely go through them. Look, it doesn't hurt to have someone in your corner, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I still think you have a little bit more convincing to do. So let's see what these 8 points are.
Cool. No worries. I will convince you by the end of this episode.
All right, let's see how it goes.
hope. I guess the first reason is also massively underrated, and that is being time poor. People don't understand the time it takes to really research and look into a property properly. So if you're a busy professional, you're time poor. If you have a family to look after, you're time poor. If you just, you know, in your day-to-day and someone asks you, hey, you come down for a beer or something, you might say, I don't have time today. You're time poor. You've got a lot to do between your full-time job, a family, trying to have a life as well. You know, most people don't just work all day and go home and do nothing. They also want to watch a bit of Netflix. They want to have a drink. They want to have a life. All these things makes you quite time poor. And we spoke about it on the episode that you were with me before, when we said researching isn't the same as searching. And a lot of people think, you know, you're just going to jump on realestate.com. Yeah, you've got this X amount of money to purchase with, jump on, have a look, but that's really not researching. You know, we do so much data analysis, and we're doing it all day, every day as a buyer's agent, that we just simply have much more information than someone that's not doing it all the time. Looking at property on the weekend, you know, you might look at 3 or 4 properties, even call it a week. You know, buyer's agents are looking at 3 or 4 properties, you know, every 3 or 4 hours, pretty much. So if you're time poor, that is probably a really good reason. And I would say anyone that has a job is going to be time poor when it comes to needing to do proper research in property. And don't forget that property is not a cheap asset.
Yeah.
It is quite expensive, and you don't want to be making over $500,000 purchase
At least
based off very little time in the market. And you say at least, I mean, if you're looking in Sydney, you're spending well over $500,000, so you do want to get it right. So if you're time poor, I would say definitely is a reason. Yeah.
Look, I can definitely appreciate that point. Working full time, then coming home, you've got kids, you've got homework, you've got things, and then you wake up and you do it all again. Not to mention, you're right, like open houses on the weekend, and especially if you're taking your kids from house to house and they're in there for 5 minutes and they're back in the car. Yeah, it's definitely not something that's fun to do. And that's just the open houses, of course. Yeah. You've got to spend all the time doing research. And again, I was actually very, very surprised at the amount of data that you had access to. Yeah. Because you're right, that searching is not research. That was a huge point for me, because I figured you'd jump on realestate.com as well, and you've got access to everything that I've got access to, but couldn't be further from the truth. I found out the amount of data and statistics and information and systems and databases that you had access to, I was quite surprised about. So, and even if I had access to all that stuff, I wouldn't have time to go through it.
For sure.
So,
and a lot of people forget to look at things such as, we look at crime rates, we look at minimum subdivision sizes. Are we competing with developers, or are we just competing with own occupiers? We look at the tranquility of the area. We look at convenience. There are things that people don't, I guess, think of. And if you're lacking time as well, you're gonna pass your mind up, and it's definitely so. If you're time poor, I think is a very good reason to use a buyer's agent.
Fair enough. All right, point for KM. Time poor. I'll take that.
Beautiful.
What else you got?
So the second point is it's an interesting one, because we find a lot of people fall into this category, and it's, I guess, if people that are frustrated with dealing with real estate agents.
Say no more. Point to you.
So we move on. No, I'll elaborate a little bit, but yeah, I guess that's the response. How you replied to me just then kind of shows the frustration sometimes people have. In no way am I saying real estate agents are bad people or anything. I have great relationships with all the real estate agents I work with.
Yeah.
But that's it. I have relationships with them because I work with them a lot.
Yeah.
We see each other all the time at open homes. We at the auctions together. We're continuously negotiating together, and we understand each other's needs. We build this level of respect, and that if I say this is kind of what I'm looking for, they're not going to play games with me.
Yeah.
And a lot of people kind of just, they'll say, well, why won't they just tell me the price?
Yeah.
Why does it say, contact the agent or price guide not available? Or they just won't tell me anything. And, when someone tells them, and then the agent will tell them, I've got another offer. Do they really have another offer?
Well, that's always been my biggest question, because that's happened to me as well.
Yeah.
Where it's like you've put an offer in and they're like, look, we've got someone who's going to go higher, and you're right, you do not know. It's
sometimes you have to gamble if you don't have insider information, I guess. It's either you say no and you hold to your guns, and then there really is another offer.
Yeah.
And then you lose the property on what could have been, just a small increase.
Yeah.
Or there really is no one, and you're just bidding against yourself until you can't go anymore, and the agent has decided that's enough.
Yeah.
So I guess the difference with having a buyer's agent in your corner is those relationships we spoke about. They don't want to muck around with us either, because they respect us as professionals, and they know that we're coming back with more clients, and they want to work with us in the future. So if I tell them, my client is at this price point, we don't have any more money, do you really have another offer or not? They know that I'm being serious, and we are really at the end. They're not going to play games. And sometimes they'll just tell us right from the start. I'll tell them the budget. They'll tell us if we're even in range or not. And, things with auctions, they'll let us know if even bother, bidding, because are we going to get munched by other people that have way more money or more emotionally invested in the property or not? So building those connections and conversations is something that is hard to do if you're on your own, because you speak to the agent maybe once every 2-3 years when you're looking at a property. Whereas again, with the buyer's agent, we are talking to them every day, every single day. They know who we are. We see them all the time. They get sick of seeing us because they probably see us more than their family members. So dealing with real estate agents, people that are frustrated with them, I would suggest, if you fall into that category, using a buyer's agent is definitely something to consider.
I can't argue with you there.
Cool.
Fair enough.
I guess we'll just move on to the next one. No debate on number 2. Number 3, sick of missing out on properties. You might, people might be confused with this point. You could spend, what I mean by that is you could spend a month of weekends at open homes. You put offers on multiple properties. They seem to go past your budget. We're back. Cool. So we just paused the recording there because there was a helicopter flying past, and we thought we almost lost the previous recording, but we're back. So I'll just start that point again. Sick of missing out on properties. you see the price guide, it says 500.
Yeah.
And your budget's 510, 520. You think you're in with a shot, and then it ends up selling for 600 or 580 or even more than 600. And people keep missing out on property.
Yeah.
And, sometimes just going off price guides, whatnot, is not enough.
Yeah.
Buyers agents, because we do such in-depth analysis, we're looking at comparable sales in the market. We're looking at estimated values. We know we don't take the price guide too seriously. We do our own comps, we do our own valuations, I guess, and see what we think. And the price guide might say 500, and sometimes that could be just to lure more customers in.
Yeah.
So if you're sick of missing out on properties, buyers agents, they do so much research, and again, the relationships they have with real estate agents can get deals done.
Yeah.
Can get deals over the line. If it's between a buyer's agent and someone else, and we got the same budget, there's a good chance that they're going to go with the buyer's agent, because they know we're coming back to them and we're going to buy more from them. So just kind of helps to have the buyer's agent in your corner. So if you're sick of missing out on property, you keep getting beaten by just you keep thinking, this is my price point and it's not even close, might be time to look at using a buyer's agent.
And like, whether it's happened to you or not, we've all heard stories of people that have just kept missing out, particularly first home buyers. Losing out to investors or developers or whatever it may be. People who are just a lot more cashed up. But I guess when you've got someone like a buyer's agent who can speak with the real estate agent, I guess you manage your clients' expectations as well. So if they see a price guide that says 600, but that's not realistic and it's going to go more, managing that expectation definitely doesn't hurt the process.
For sure. We speak the same language as the real estate agents.
Yeah.
Which is a big thing. So price guide of 500, we know it means a lot more.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's the first time or second time you do it, even if you've got 3 or 4 properties before, it's your 5th one, how often are you buying them? Yeah. You might be out of touch with the tactics that they use or the wording, and so definitely a point where, if that's you, look at using a buyer's agent.
Okay, sounds good. Well, you're doing pretty well so far.
Was that 3 points, you reckon?
Yeah.
3 points?
Yeah, I reckon you can take that.
Number 4 is kind of the first 3 mixed together. If people just over the process.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's purchasing real estate can be really stressful. It can take a long time. It's a tiring process. It can be very emotionally draining if you're missing out on properties. You get to a point sometimes you just want to quit. You think, well, I can never buy. I can never get in the market. I've lost hope. There's no point. I'm just going to, watch Netflix and do nothing else. And even if you're a first timer or a seasoned investor, or you've bought 10 properties, this can happen to you. The process can be long, tiring, and if you don't love it and you don't do it all the time, there's a good chance that happens to you, especially if you miss out on a few properties.
Yeah.
And when that happens, procrastination starts setting in. You just start wasting time. You start not caring. Before you know it, your pre-approval is expired. You've got to go through the whole process again with the financing. If you don't like the process, this one's pretty simple. If you don't like the process of buying real estate, if you don't enjoy it, get a buyer's agent to do it. It's a very easy point. If I don't like working on cars, I have friends that do. If there's a problem with my car, I don't think twice.
Yeah.
I go to my mates, they're pretty much mechanics, fix my car, let me know when it's done. I don't want to think about it more than 1 second, because I can't stand cars. I like cars. I just don't know how they operate. I don't know how they work. I don't even know how the wheels are moving.
That makes 2 of us.
Yeah. So it's just kind of, I don't like it, so I move. Yeah. I would use a buyer's agent if I don't like the process.
Look, even if you do like it, I mean, I love looking at property and I enjoy the whole thing, but I was over the process when I came to buy my first property.
Yeah.
Between dealing with the real estate agent, with the bank, and then applying for the first home owners grant on top of that, dealing with the government, I was over everything. Nothing went right. It was 1 step forward, 5 steps back.
Yeah.
And I was over the process before we even started. So, and I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoy the whole thing. But
we know
I was still over it.
You're the numbers man.
Yeah, I had no issues with that part, thankfully.
Yeah.
But it's definitely easy to see how people can get over the process very quickly and how that can affect the property that you eventually end up with, if at all. All right, I guess you're on a bit of a streak.
4-0.
4 for 4.
4 for 4. Oh, number 5, pretty niche point. I guess number 5 is if you live overseas, maybe you're an expat, or you might live in a different state to where you want to buy. Definitely a buyer's agent is the way to go. Buyer's agents, I mean, at First Brick Property Buyers Agency, we don't just stick to Sydney where we're based. We look all over Australia. We do that because every client is different. Every person has a different situation, different financial situation, different goals. So if we stuck to one spot, we wouldn't be doing the right thing for the customer. So we look across all of the country, and we have networks in every state. And we've got, we'll fly out, and we've got people in different states that will look at properties for us. We've got a team everywhere. And if you're not in the state that you're going to buy in, and you don't have someone doing the data there and someone looking at the property there, it's going to be very hard for you to compete, because you won't know the area like the people that you're competing with that are there. And 2, obviously it can become quite costly for you to fly out to have a look at the property and all the rest. So we obviously have our team and we do everything for them. So if I'm in Sydney and I want to buy in Brisbane, and I'm by myself, I'm pretty much just going off Google Maps, maybe the word of the real estate agent. And how many times do you go to a house and you're like, oh, that doesn't look like the photos at all, right? It's, the photos are obviously done by professionals. Yeah.
And
if you're not looking at the house yourself, it can be very different to what it looks like in photos.
Personally, I never even considered an interstate property for that reason.
Yeah.
I just thought it was too much of a risk or too much of a hassle. And I probably missed out on some decent opportunities because of it. So I definitely can't argue with you.
And that's we find a lot of people, they buy in their own backyard because they think they know it quite well. Often they don't. But 2 is, like you said, they think it's too much hassle, too much headache to look elsewhere. And sometimes there's brilliant opportunities outside your backyard.
Yeah.
I mean, Australia is a massive place. And if you're looking in the 10-kilometer radius of where you live, there's a good chance you're missing out on better opportunities. Yeah. And again, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars here. So even just consulting a buyer's agent to see if it's worth looking outside your state, becoming borderless.
Yeah.
For sure, it's definitely a reason to consult one.
Keep going. You're on a roll.
Beautiful. Go on to number 6. And 6 is, you might be concerned that you aren't getting access to all property. What do I mean by that? Off-market property, you might have heard that terminology before.
Yeah.
Off-market property is a real thing. It's real. It exists. It's not imaginary. People do talk about it because it's real. And what off-market property is, it essentially is just property that hasn't gone onto market yet. So very easy to jump on real estate and domain and have a look what's there. But you'd be surprised how many properties we get sent that don't get on real estate and domain. And if you're not, I guess, mates, or if you don't have a relationship with the agents, you're not getting the access to these properties. And having access to these properties, I mean, we don't always buy these properties, but having that as an option is obviously better than not. And the benefits, I guess, of having an off-market opportunity is you can buy and sort everything out really quickly.
Yes.
But the big one is usually price point. If the real estate agent doesn't have to put it on the market, they don't have to spend money in advertising, so they're happy. So they love a quick sale because they obviously get paid quicker, but also you have no competition. If you and the buyer can meet, if you and the seller can meet at reasonable terms for everyone, done deal, and you had no one to compete with. So we do get options off market that if you're not in the industry, you simply won't get. So people do get concerned that they're not getting access to a property, and they ask the agents, and agents, we'll send you some, but they don't, because I guess it's too much time and headache for their agents to do it if they're not thinking the buyer's serious, or the buyer's only going to buy one every 5-6 years. Just easy for them to chuck it on the market. I've personally purchased quite a few off market, and we save considerable amount of money. We're talking 50 to 100 grand just because it was off market, and the seller wanted it done quick. We could offer it to them, and the real estate agent knew who I was and what I was looking for, and just sent it my way, and done deal.
That's really interesting, because I didn't really think that happened often, or if at all. I always thought you wanted to advertise the property and just have it blown out everywhere you could possibly get it. But I can see the benefits
definitely,
of having an off-market listing, if you will, for both, the agent and for the vendor. It does make sense.
Correct. So, I mean, a lot of people forget that a real estate agent, if they don't sell, they don't eat.
They don't get paid.
They don't get paid. So, for them, if they can sell the house in one day, every day, well, cheering, because they just keep getting paid. And for us, we want to wrap it up quickly as well, because that means our clients get their properties quicker, and they can start seeing the wealth creation happening. So definitely, and like off market doesn't always just mean, they just sent it to us before it hits real estate or domain. It could also include deceased estate, which means the owners have passed on, and that's big opportunities for massive savings. Just today I was at an open inspection, and it was a deceased estate. And there's not a lot of people that know about this one, because it's just kind of...
So it wasn't even advertised?
No, Okay. So it will become advertised eventually if no one takes it from the guys out there.
But you've got first dibs.
That's it. We've got first right of refusal. So definitely and big savings on this property. So in a very competitive Sydney market, things like that are...
especially in a Sydney market.
I'd say invaluable, but I guess you can value it, but quite valuable, I guess I would say.
Oh no, if you've got access to things that we don't have access to, there's definitely value in that.
Cool.
All right, then.
Hitting point number 7. So first home buyers. This one's pretty obvious for me, is if you've never done it before, it's all the 6 points beforehand combined. You don't have time, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the expertise, you haven't dealt with agents before, you don't have all the market, you don't have all the properties on market coming your way, and you have to figure out how to do it by yourself, and no one's helping you. And you're competing against people that have done it, people that have big portfolios. It's tough.
And it feels like everyone's just trying to take your money.
Pretty much. You don't know who's lying to you. You don't know who's being truthful. You believe everyone. And then you get burnt 5-6 times and you realize that's not true. Then you start not believing everyone. And then you realize people are still, telling you the truth, but you've chosen not to believe it. It's just confusing. It's a confusing time. I mean, the first time you drive a car, you're on your L's for a reason. You have an instructor next to you to teach you. The first time you ride a bike, someone's helping you. The first time you do everything, it's kind of a guide. Once in the property world, there's really no guide. There's okay, you're a first home owner, so we'll give you a little bit of a grant, help you money wise, but how do you actually do it? And having someone on your side is really, really helpful.
So is that something you can help with? You can help first home owners apply for a grant?
So at First Brick, we don't do the financing, but we have networks with a lot of brokers who do that for them. So if you are a first-time buyer and you're listening to this, and you're just interested in the financing and getting the grant, feel free to contact us, and we'll put you in contact with one of our really good brokers. And they've all done first-time buyers before, so they know the grants back to front off by heart. But what we do at First Brick, and we love education. The whole reason we're doing this podcast, we love to educate. And first-time buyers, we don't want to just do it for them and then next time they have no idea. We want to do it for them and guide them in the process. We want them there every step of the way so they can learn, they can love it, they can enjoy it, and just really enjoy the process, because buying your first home is a big achievement. It's not something to just,
especially in the Australian market.
It's not easy at all in the Australian market. It's very difficult. So if you have a helping hand, I think that's a very, very good point. Number 7. It's just simply, if you're a first-time buyer, use a buyer's agent, because they're going to help you and they're going to teach you and you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, I definitely can't argue with that because I had a serious experience trying to get my first home and dealing with all of that.
Yeah.
And like I said, I got over the process and I didn't hate the process to begin with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely handy to have a buyer's agent if you're a first home buyer.
Yeah.
I think you've almost tipped me over the edge.
Yeah, beautiful. So let's see if point number 8 gets you there. Point number 8, I guess, means a lot to myself and the team here, is people simply acknowledge and appreciate the industry experts.
Yeah.
You might not be time poor. You might not be a first-time buyer. You might enjoy the process like you do.
Yeah.
You might love talking to real estate agents or the 7 points above, but you might not be the expert.
Yeah.
You might like it, but you might not know how to do it correct or the best. And if you're not doing it every single day, you just won't be. I would say we would be able to outperform someone that, even if they like it, they don't do it every day. Simply because we've got all the data, we're in the market every day, we know the agents, we have everything we've spoken about beforehand. Some people, will just appreciate industry experts and go to them for help. And we do, definitely. With property managers, we love property managers who only run property management businesses that don't have a sales side. And that's why we don't have a sales side, for example. We do what we do. We just buy.
Yeah.
We know what we're good at, and we do it, and we do it well. We'll go back to the car example. There's a problem with my car. I'm going to a mechanic. I'm not going to think twice about it. I'm not going to try and fix it myself to save $500, $1,000. No, because I'm probably going to stuff something up anyway. It's going to cost me more in the long run.
Yeah.
If I'm sick, I'm going to a doctor. If I need to get drugs, I'm going to a pharmacist to know which ones. Better to go to the people that understand and the industry experts in their area because they're going to do it the best. And if I try and do it myself, I think a big point is it could end up costing me more.
Yeah.
Than, for example, getting a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
And cost you more in mistakes. And mistakes in property can be very, very costly.
Yeah.
I mean, they can 50, 100, 150,000. It could be big mistakes,
Yeah.
right? So I think people that just simply acknowledge that there's someone that does it for a living and they're very good at it, they're very passionate about it. I think those people definitely, they would want to use a buyer's agent.
Yeah, of course. And look, I've touched on this before. When you started this and I saw the work that you did, the things you had access to, and the amount of analysis that you did to be able to do what you do, I was very, very impressed. And the amount,
we appreciate that.
The amount of data and information that you go through and that you have access to was very, very impressive.
Yeah.
So I completely appreciate the benefit of, dealing with an industry expert and someone who does this day in and day out.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely useful and definitely someone you would like to have in your corner.
Yeah, for sure. So we big believer in building a team around you. So definitely you want to have an accountant there. You want to have your broker. You want to have your property manager, financial advisor, if you'd like one, and a buyer's agent for sure. That's your team.
Yeah.
All the very successful people that have a team, they don't do it themselves. I think it was Bill Gates or someone said Warren Buffett, maybe. I don't know who said it. They said, the people that work for them are much smarter than them.
Yeah.
But, why would they do it if they got someone that can do it better than them?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure who said that. Maybe it was Warren Buffett. I'll have to check. Put in the show notes. And then, like when we do our research, for example, like you said, you've seen some of the data sheets I compile. When we look at a city, we're compiling the top 250 suburbs of each city with 20 different metric points. It is pretty comprehensive.
Yeah.
There may be people that do it themselves like that. And if you do, good on you. Go nuts, keep doing it.
Yeah.
But if you're not, there's a good chance you're missing out on opportunities.
Yeah. All right. Look, I think you've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
However, maybe I'm a bit of a pushover. Maybe I'm biased because we're friends.
Yeah.
Got anything else you want to talk about for any one of your listeners that may not be fully convinced just yet?
Yeah.
What else you got?
I guess continuing on from the 8th point we said, Maybe we'll talk about some mistakes that can be made if you do it alone, rather than why you should use a buyer's agent. We'll talk about some mistakes. Maybe they'll scare some people into using a buyer's agent. Probably number one is emotional decisions.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get emotional about it, especially if it's an investment. In theory, it's pretty easy. But when it happens, what happens is when you come across the property and it just makes you go, oh, wow, this is the one. We're going to, get some good growth out of this, good yields, whatnot. You talk to the agent and they're saying everything you want them to say because you want to buy it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, budget's gone out the window. You spent way too much money.
Yeah.
And it went from a great investment to, you're 100 grand negative equity, for example.
That can't be good.
No, it's not good. And as a buyer's agent, we don't get emotional at all. We definitely, we always end up becoming friends with our clients, and we end up, we obviously want every client to do well because that's our business as well. But we don't get emotional about the actual property because we've seen so many that we know if we lose this one and it goes above budget, no problem. There's another one coming.
Yeah.
It might take another week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but we know the opportunities are coming.
Yeah.
And we've seen it so many times before that we don't get carried away. We don't get too emotional about one property. So I think emotional decisions is a big mistake.
Yeah. And especially if you're buying an investment property, the last thing you want to do is buy an investment property
based off
emotions when you're not even going to be living in it. And I guess you need to be a little bit careful, even if it's a house that you're going to live in as well.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you really want it and you're emotional and you're willing to go a little bit over, the last thing you want to do is go a lot over and then end up in mortgage stress or anything like that.
Correct. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
It can turn into a big financial issue sometimes.
Yeah.
So, this emotional decisions in investment, don't do it. Use a buyer's agent. Another mistake, I guess, people lacking confidence. If you've never purchased property, or even if you have a large portfolio, if you're not in the market daily, negotiating daily, you might lack the confidence necessary to negotiate and speak with selling agents. And the result, the selling agents, they smell fear. They smell the lack of confidence right from you. The second you walk through, they're sizing you up, they're looking up and down. Is a buyer, and they're professionals. That's their job to get the best result for their vendor.
Yeah.
A buyer's agent, we're professional. We see it all the time. We do it every day, all day. We've got your best interest in heart and no one else's. The selling agents know that. It's hard to fool us with their tactics and stuff. We don't lack confidence, essentially. We're pretty confident in our decision making, and it's all backed by data and numbers. So if it's not working out for us, there's nothing really that the agents or anyone can say we're going to move on.
No one's going to scare you into buying a house.
No one's going to scare us into buying a house, pretty much.
All right.
Number 3, I guess, procrastination. Doing it alone, often a struggle. Sometimes life gets in the way. You say to yourself, it's okay, we'll look tomorrow, or the day after, call the agent later, I'll research on the weekend. Everything else becomes a priority when you have to sit down and do some work. I've seen it a lot of times. I mean, you run in a lot of people, you see them, how's the property search going? Not bad. We're looking. You see them 6 months, 7 months, a year later. How'd you go? Oh, life just got really busy.
Yeah.
Things got in the way. But we're going to look soon. We're going to buy soon. And then you find them 5 years later and they're still looking. So procrastination is a big thing. A buyer's agent, our job is to find your property.
Yeah.
Like a real estate agent doesn't get paid till they sell one. We don't get paid till we buy it.
Yeah.
But everything obviously goes through the buyer, the client. They have to approve everything, but we're not procrastinating. We're on the ball. We're looking at everything. Our job is to get it done for you.
Yeah.
So
this very easily ties in with the time poor comment that we made before.
Yeah.
If all you have to do is just make a decision and respond to your buyer's agent, you'll easily make time for that, as opposed to all the research and all the house hunting that you would need to do if you didn't have one.
Yeah. I guess lacking knowledge and unsure of the process ties in with what we said earlier. These are mistakes that can become quite costly. So again, if you're lacking knowledge, you might be a first-time buyer, or if you're unsure of the process, and you might not be a first-time buyer. You could be very seasoned in doing it, but you just do it every so many years that it's not second nature. And you can figure out how to do it, and you lose touch with the tactics of the agents and stuff. So you end up getting taken advantage of and losing out. And I guess the whole point of this is not to lose. The whole point of this is that we want to represent the buyers. We want to give them a fair fight. So if you're, lacking knowledge, or if you're unsure of the process, use a buyer's agent.
Of course. Well, I'm pretty convinced.
Cool.
And I can see that a buyer's agent can definitely help me get a property. But
yeah,
there's always more. The job's not done yet.
There's always more.
Look, I know you're a good buyer's agent.
Yeah.
But how does everybody else know? How does anyone find a good buyer's agent? How can they tell if they are a good buyer's agent?
Yeah. Really quickly, I'll go through this. 3 points or 3 questions you want to ask a potential buyer's agent you might hire. Firstly, are they fully licensed? If they're not holding a valid license, they're most likely not a buyer's agent. Could be a spruiker, could just be someone selling development plots or something. I don't know. I don't want to get into it. But essentially, if they're not fully licensed, beware. If they are fully licensed, that's a good step 1. Make sure they've got their insurances and stuff. Point number 2, ask if they're a dedicated buyer's agent. So First Brick Property Buyers Agency, we just do buyers agency. We help people buy property. That's it. We don't sell. We don't have a property management arm. We don't have brokers. We outsource that to our connections. Yeah. And that's because we want to be good at what we do.
Yeah.
And if we're doing other stuff, we're going to get sidetracked. So I think if people are dedicated buyers agents, that's a good sign to know that they're...
So this is your primary focus. You buy property on behalf of your clients, and
correct.
That's it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And in saying that, there are some buyers agencies that have a sales division or property management division, and they're not bad. But it's just a good question to ask if they're dedicated buyers agents.
Yeah.
Because that's always a good sign.
Yeah.
And number 3 is how do we get paid? Ask a buyer's agent how they get paid. It's a very good question, because a true buyer's agent will take a fee from their client.
Yeah.
They provide a service. The client that's using the service pays a fee.
Yeah.
Typically, it's a percentage or a fixed amount. That's all fine. However they do it, as long as they're upfront about it, and obviously all your costs. But if there's a buyer's agent claiming to work for free, often they're being paid heavily by developers or agents to buy their products only.
Okay.
And if a buyer's agent is being paid by a developer or agent, they simply don't have your best interest at heart, as their choices are limited to what the developer is offering, as opposed to, for example, if they charge you a fee, they're looking across all of Australia or across the whole state, whatever their market is, but they're looking for you, they're not buying off a sales list. So how they get paid is probably number 3. So those 3 questions are really easy. You can ask to see if you're speaking to a good buyer's agent.
Okay. That sounds pretty good. I think we've gone through a whole heap of stuff.
We have. It's a bit over time as well. We've spoken more than usual.
Okay. Well, then do you want to quickly, in the next 2 minutes, give us a quick summary of everything so that we can have a quick recap?
Cool. 2-minute shot clock.
Yeah. Go.
Pretty much. If you fall into any of the following categories, I would say a buyer's agent is definitely for you. Number 1, if you are time poor. Number 2, if you're frustrated with dealing with real estate agents. Number 3, if you're sick of missing out on property. Number 4, if you're over the process. Number 5, if you live overseas or interstate from where you want to buy. Number 6, if you're concerned that you aren't getting access to all properties. Number 7, if you're a first home buyer. Or number 8, if you simply acknowledge and appreciate an expert's help. If you fall into any of these 8 categories, I would say you want to use a buyer's agent.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Are you convinced?
Can't say no.
Can't say no. Would you use a buyer's agent for your next property purchase?
Yeah, I definitely would.
Sounds like you're
Absolutely would.
Beautiful. Well, there you have it all. That's the 4th episode of the First Brick Property podcast. It's come to an end. I did enjoy that one. We apologize that we went a little bit over time. I do like to talk a lot. But we hope you can see the importance of using a buyer's agent. So obviously we run a buyer's agency business here called First Brick. And if you fell into any of the 8 points that we just mentioned beforehand, if you're looking at buying property, or if you just want some more information regarding what we do, or if you want connections with brokers, accountants, financial advisors, we do work with a lot of them. Feel free to give us a call or contact us. Our details will be in the show notes. Hope you enjoyed it, Hanny. Hope you.
Thanks
hope
for
we'll see
having
you
me
for
on
next
again.
week. Yeah, no worries.
Looking forward to the next
You
one.
are the co-host. You are the dedicated co-host. You can't be replaced. So you have
I
to
like
keep,
the sound of that.
You have to keep rocking up, even if you don't want to.
Sounds good.
Beautiful.
All right, guys.
Before we end, real quick, just have a real quick offer. If you were here the last few episodes, you would have heard them. A lot of the data points that we mentioned when we were researching, very hard to find. You have to pay for these data subscriptions. If you're interested in a property, you're looking at one, you're interested, send us a message and we'll get you a free property report. Just mention you heard it on the podcast and we'll be happy to help. So limited time offer. We're going to end this offer in February. So if you're looking at a property to buy, send us a message and we'll send you a free property report. So that's really cool.
That's awesome.
You can find all our content on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Just search First Brick Property Buyers. We'll pop up there. If you have any topics that you would like to be discussed on the podcast or have any questions, we plan to do some Q&A episodes. Please send us a message on our socials or email us at hello@firstbrick.com.au. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you want to give us a rating, preferably 5-star, please do give us a rating below. And pass the pod movement from last week. Just tell one friend that you think might enjoy this podcast. And we're calling this Pass the Pod movement. So
Pretty clever.
thank you. Thanks, Annie. Thanks for coming. Buying property is our passion. Helping you do it is our mission. Thank you.